stand apart, put a fence around your yard. You can build a tall rampart, guard it with a gun. You can dig yourself a moat, burn the bridge, burn the boat. It won't matter that much, you know, 'cause all the world is one. All the world is one. You can march in a big parade every Independence Day. You can raise up your own flag, sing your own anthem. It'll ring out in the air with the other anthems there. To the winds of the earth declare, all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Go ask Walt Whitman when he's looking out at the sea. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Ask an atom in the breath you take. Ask the water by the river bank. Ask a strand of DNA, it's written in your blood. One life running in your veins, one light from one big bang. You can try and separate it, but all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Ask Annie Dillard when she's up on Tinker Creek. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Take an outbound train, try to make a getaway. You can ride out like John Wayne into the setting sun. But earthlings don't leave town, they just go round and round till they figure out all the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one. All the world is one.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. I'm Luke, serving as your minister here. Ours is a congregation that celebrates wisdom from many sources and a practice of inclusion of all people and love for our neighbors and for the earth. We've been nurturing spiritual growth and practicing justice since 1866. Special welcome to newcomers and visitors this morning. We're so glad you're here. If you have questions about our church, would like to consider becoming a member or get involved, you can speak with me after the service or Melissa Egler, our coordinator of congregational life. Most importantly, know that you are welcome here. And a special welcome and gratitude to our guest musician and preacher this morning, Peter Mayer. Glad you're here this morning. You can visit Pete after the service downstairs in the Commons. He'll have a CD table down there, and mostly welcome. It's a beautiful service. 9 o'clock was great. 11 o'clock is going to be good too, I have no doubt. So in a moment, our opening hymn, which Pete will lead and teach you the lyrics for, will call us back together. But now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet those around you.
Well, I'd love to teach you a song for our opening hymn. This is called Turn Me Earth, and it has a couple of different parts for you all. On the verse, I sing a line, and then you sing a line, I sing a line, you sing a line. And your lines are two. There's two of them, and they repeat throughout the song on the verses. So let me teach you those lines. So I go, turn me, earth, to a new sunrise. And you go, turn me into the light of morning. And I sing, turn me, earth, when I close my eyes. And you sing, turn me into the night. So turn me into the light of morning. Turn me into the night. Those are your two lines, okay? Let's try that. Turn me, earth, to a new sunrise. Turn me into the light of morning. Turn me, earth, when I close my eyes. Turn me into the night, okay? And then the chorus goes like this. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Let's try that together. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Okay, that's it. Let's sing together. Wish I played piano sometimes. Okay. Sorry. Good enough for folk music, I guess. Turn me, earth, to a new sunrise. Turn me into the light of. Turn me, earth, when I close my eyes. Turn me into the night. Turn me, earth, to blackbirds trill. Turn me into the light of morning, and round again to the whippoorwill. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. And as you're spinning light and dark, turn me into the light. Turn me, earth, around your star. Turn me into the night. Through the seasons we will go. Turn me into the light. Summer rain and winter snow. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night again. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Mother Earth, your child I am. Turn me into the light. And I was born for this dance. Turn me into the night. Round and around the sun we fly. Turn me into the night. Thank you for this life. Turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the waiting dawn. Turn me, turn me, turn me into the night. Turn me into the night. Turn me into the night. Turn me into the night.
Recently, after a beautiful and long day of meetings and conversations, computer work and emails, words and thoughts, and a collared button-up shirt, I took much of the next day shifting my effort and my energy and my direction from the mental, emotional, spiritual work that I love to physical work that I also love. Tools in hand, knees in dirt, we fastened boards together with metal and laid brick we found round our yard into a path and made a place for a garden. With the sun on my back and my hands now blistered and covered in dirt, I heard a small voice behind me saying, "Fiddleheads and ferns and bluebells." These were things that I wouldn't have been able to name till much older than the voice behind me, so I was humbled and blessed to work in the dirt and to learn from a child, to be washed in sunshine and knee-deep in the dust from which I came. When you ground yourself in earth and you connect your head and your heart to your hands and the sacred soil beneath you, you are humbled and connected all at the same time. These words for our chalice lighting come from Gary Snyder. The rising hills, the slopes, the statistics lie before us. The steep climb of everything going up, meaning we will go down. In the next century, or the one beyond that, they say, are valleys and pastures. We can meet there in peace if we can make it. To climb these coming crests, one word to you and to your children: stay together, learn the flowers, go light.
One thing that we know now that science tells us is that that everything, that the atoms that this room, this building, and that indeed our own bodies are made out of, come from stars, come from supernova explosions, which are the only event really that scientists know of that can create calcium and iron and many of those atoms on the periodic table. And so they were created in stars, and then they get sent out in the explosion out into space, and then very slowly they're gathered together by gravity again into new stars, into planets, into us. So Carl Sagan has this lovely quote where he says, "We are star stuff pondering the stars." So here's a song inspired by those kinds of ideas. In all of the thousand years that have passed, days that have gone by, and the countless astonishing things that have happened, like the first star to turn on a light in the sky, or like the sun being born, or the earth being formed, or the first twitch of life in the depths of the sea, or the very first flower to brighten the world, the very first he, the very first she. There was no one to see it or say, "Oh my God," no one to laugh or to weep, and now only one can uncover the story and search through the clues. It is you, human, you, human, you. Of all the things made of atoms, the children of matter, the comets and quasars, the oceans and the stones, and the millions of creatures who have lived on this planet, who have walked through the ages and floated and flown, there was never among them A poser of questions, painter of sunsets, keeper of dreams, who can measure the days and the nights as they're passing and seek understanding, ask what life means. It's as if all of time were a song that has finally found ears, or as if the whole world for 4 billion years has been lying unconscious and is now coming to. In you, human, you, human, you. So in all of your hurries and your preoccupied worries about when your next meal or next paycheck will come, in your hopes and ambitions, your quest for possessions, your search for self-worth and for sex and for love, just remember that there is a deeper dimension, wider communion, which you're a part. There's a whole universe that's evolving, unfolding. You are its consciousness, you are its heart. Human, you are a mountain that now has just opened its eyes. You're the wandering earth, you're the awakening sky, you're a galaxy laughing and whistling a tune. That is you, human, you, human, you. Oh, you are a mountain that now has just opened its eyes. You're the wandering earth, you're the awakening sky, you're a galaxy laughing, whistling a tune. You, human, you, human, you. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me. They have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then, when they had a bowl to mend. It did not hide the cracks, it made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke, and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be. But any collector's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful and worth a much higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese long ago. I have some cracks. You can see how they shine. Of gold.
Well, happy Mother's Day, everybody. It's a privilege to be here with you all today and share some music and also some thoughts about Unitarian Universalism. I found Unitarian Universalism, I guess, back in the 1980s, in the late 80s, and signed on. Not too long after that. So I'm very grateful for this tradition and glad to be here. Oh, I need my... Oh, here they are. It's the story of my life. I just got this strap, and it's awesome. For moments like that, you know, they're never too far away. Okay. I was once at a UU coming-of-age service where the 9th grade boys and girls who were in this program were making statements about what they believe. One of the quotes was something like, "As far as what the truth is about different religions, I guess I just don't know. And not knowing seems to be what UUism is all about." I thought a lot about that. We UUs are indeed famous for not being quite sure what we believe. There are jokes you may have heard about what happens when you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a UU, and the answer is that you get a person who goes around knocking on doors for no apparent reason. I've puzzled a lot about what exactly this religion represents. When I first discovered it, it seemed so different from the Roman Catholicism I grew up with. It contained no central mythology, no creed or statement of belief in any kind of supernatural order. It offered no God. It guaranteed no afterlife. I wondered, was this even a religion? And what was holding it together? It seemed to struggle with what it was exactly, and how to describe itself to a curious stranger on a 30-second elevator ride. I would like to suggest that perhaps what UUs are about lies not so much in what we don't know, but rather in what we do know. Let me explain what I mean. Throughout our history, UUs have always had a sort of cranky empiricism. There is another joke about us that we often read ahead in the hymnal so we can determine whether or not in good conscience we can sing the lyrics that are coming up. We are very serious about the truth of things. And here's something most of us seem to agree on. If something can't be shown to be true based on good evidence, then we shouldn't try to build a religion on it. So, if we can't have all the beliefs and promises that many religions have, then what is left for us? Well, what we do know is what is left. And this, I think, is one of the defining traits of Unitarian Universalism. We build on what we know to be true, not on what we don't. Some religions favor beliefs over and even against empirical knowledge, but not UUism. It seems to me that what we know comes first, and everything follows from that. And whatever follows, whatever beliefs or rituals or spiritual practices we embrace must not contradict common knowledge, but rather flow out of it and hearken back to it. Does this sound like a religion without mysticism and inspiration, without the transcendent experiences that so many of us hope for in a religious practice? I would like to suggest just the opposite, that what we now know to be true about the world is so vast and mysterious in its scope, from the subtle intricacies and inner workings of a single living cell to the unimaginable immensity and age of the universe, that every effort we make to learn about it can only lead to a sense of reverence, awe, and wonder. Astronomer Chet Ramo writes, quote, "Nothing I had been taught in my religious education seemed adequate to encompass the grandeur and mystery of what I learned in science." So, what do we know? Well, we certainly can't cover it all here, but one important thing that we know is we are alive. Perhaps this is our best good news. We are alive and awake in the universe, and this, we know, is an astonishing thing. We also know that we are blood relatives with every living thing on earth, every plant, animal, bacterium, and fungus, and that every living thing descended from the same microscopic organisms that were alive on earth nearly 4 billion years ago. We didn't always know this, and most of our religions were created long before we discovered it. And even though this truth is incredibly profound, with all sorts of implications about who and what we are, still, so many of our religions do not even include it in their understanding of the world, nor acknowledge or celebrate it in their liturgies and doctrines. It seems that our spiritual lives haven't yet caught up with the amazing things we have discovered. We also know that evolution is the process by which all life is related, and yet some of our religions today deny evolution altogether, even though there is as much evidence for it as there is for the theory of gravity. To deny evidence is a curious and sometimes troubling capacity that we humans have. Look at global warming, for example. Although it enjoys the weight of scientific consensus, still many of us simply choose not to believe it. Ignoring facts like this creates a very distorted and dangerous map by which to navigate our future. And it points to the need for religion that starts first and foremost with what we can say is true to the best of our knowledge. What else do we know? We know that each one of us is a community of 1 trillion living organisms, many of whom still resemble their ancient ancestors, which are cooperating in complicated ways to make you and me. And we are learning that even though evolution has given us the drive to compete, it has also, perhaps even more powerfully, given us the desire to cooperate and nurture and love and live in community with others. We are learning that human beings love not in spite of our genetic inheritance, but because of it. Nature itself has taught us to love and to practice empathy because we need each other to live and to thrive. What else do we know? We know that we are on a planet. We didn't always know this, and most of our religions were created long before we discovered it. Catholic nun and theologian Ilia Delio basically says, forget evolution, we religious people still have to come to grips with the fact that the sun actually isn't going around the earth. But we know now that the sky isn't turning around us. It took us a long time because it's not a really intuitive thing. We had to observe carefully and invent some instruments to observe it. We know now that we are doing the turning around the axis of the earth at 900 miles an hour, around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour right now together, and around the center of our Milky Way galaxy at a whopping 483,000 miles an hour. A galaxy which, by the way, we now know isn't the only galaxy. We know there are hundreds of billions of them, and they are all moving and expanding apart from one another. Indeed, everything is in motion, from the very smallest particle in the atoms of our bodies to the immense universe itself. And all is changing as well, not static and eternal as the old model suggested. Even Einstein didn't believe it at first until he was shown evidence. We know now that the universe has actually had a beginning. It began 13.8 thousand million years ago, as far as we know, as a speck smaller than an atom into which all of us were squished in our primordial form, and which at some point exploded and expanded with unimaginable force and speed. In moments, it was just immeasurably large. In time, gravity gathered gas clouds into galaxies of stars. Some of those stars, as Luke mentioned, exploded and created new kinds of matter, which was then gathered up again into new stars, rocks, planets, and eventually into us. We are made of star stuff. We didn't always know this astonishing truth. And most of our religions still don't regard it as central to their beliefs and practices. Perhaps we feel that it's beside the point, but I don't think it is. I think it is the sacred story of our lives. We know that the earth itself is 4,500 million years old, and that people, us, we descended from primates in Africa, and that we modern humans have been here for perhaps 100,000 years, which is really just an eye blink in the vast history of the planet. We know that we most likely wouldn't be here if an asteroid hadn't struck the earth, caused the dinosaurs to become extinct. Indeed, we know that our existence is dependent on all that has preceded us, all that has happened leading up to now, and that our lives are brief events in the immense scope of things. One difficult thing we know is that life needs death in order to make itself anew, which does not bode well for our prospects for personal immortality. But it does mean that we have the opportunity to be alive at all, because without death, none of us would be here. We know that we are not really better than anything else in creation, but it is possible to see that we have a special role, a role of discovering and giving names to things, of piecing together the story of creation and celebrating that story. We can say that the universe becomes awake and aware of itself through us. We have the role of loving each other, trying to make life fair and equitable for all, and caring for the earth. And now, with our capacity to destroy, we have the planet itself in our hands, and so have the very important role of striving to protect and preserve its life systems. And here is a great truth that we know, which is expressed in all the other things we have learned. We are profoundly, all of us, interconnected. We are indeed one with each other and with everything around us in ways that are very important, but not always very apparent. And here, I think, is where religion comes in. Religions have always told a particular story about the world and of what it means to be human. Who and what are we? What is the nature of reality? How should we live? What does life mean? And whatever that sacred central story is, it is committed to heart by those who follow that faith, told and retold, studied and discussed endlessly, and revisited every Saturday or Sunday morning. Why? Because it is of utmost importance. And it is not something you just tend to know intuitively. If you grow up Christian or Muslim, you don't automatically know the story of Jesus or Muhammad. You must learn it, and then ideally study it the rest of your life in order to live more fully out of it. And so it is, I would like to suggest, with the great truths that we now know. The fact that we are on a planet, as I mentioned, is not an intuitive thing. We don't feel it moving. And so we have to remind ourselves of this if we are to live more deeply out of it. We must use our imaginations to try and grasp what is actually real. It is the same with many other of these aspects of our existence. We must learn about evolution and the oneness of life, about deep time and the forces that brought us here, and then try to live out of those ideas and let them sink more deeply into us by way of ritual, meditation, poetry, metaphor, art and drama, discussion and support in a community of faith. This is the way we create a good and accurate map of reality by which to navigate the future and make the right choices so that life will flourish. When I grew up in the Catholic Church, every year at Easter, my family attended the most important liturgy of the whole year, the Easter Vigil. It happened at midnight, and the whole church at one point became completely dark. This is big stuff for a kid in the pews. Sitting in a full church at midnight in silence with the lights out. Then the Paschal fire, the light of Christ, was dramatically lit at the back of the church, and its light slowly grew as the flame was passed candle to each person until the whole sanctuary glowed. I'll never forget that magical feeling. That great light appearing in the darkness and then spreading to each one of us so that each of us were a part of it. The over 2-hour liturgy featured readings and songs from our whole history, going back to Genesis, Abraham, Moses, and finally Jesus Christ. This was our entire salvation story. But given how my own beliefs have changed since then, where do I go now with my own children so that they can feel the magic and the power of their own story? Where do I go to light a great fire in the darkness that represents the Big Bang, or the first life on earth, or the first time that our human ancestors appeared in Africa? This is our sacred story. To know it is to feel at home in the world, to feel like we belong here, to feel connected to everything around us. The word religion, after all, means to reconnect, to find happiness and meaning in our lives. I believe it has the power, like any great sacred story, to comfort and inspire us, to give us strength in living, to help us love one another and grow our circle of compassion and empathy, to act with wisdom, and to just be excited to be here, to be part of it all. I believe that our UU religion can help us do that. Our openness and interest in incorporating new discoveries and current understandings of the world into our worship and teachings is important in this regard, to help develop a kind of spiritual vocabulary for the many intellectual things that we are all learning, and help orient our hearts and our actions to them, to create rituals, liturgies, and spiritual practices that celebrate what we know to be true, and to bring it alive in our imaginations. In one of her meditations, the Reverend Victoria Safford, who is a pastor of the church where Luke was for a while and where I belong, in one of her meditations, she asks us, what if there were a universe, a cosmos, that began in shining blackness, out of nothing, out of fire, out of a single silent breath, and into it came billions and billions of stars, and red-winged blackbirds, and sperm whales, and crocuses, onions out of soil, Mount Everest, and the mind and the mind's eye. If such a universe existed and you noticed it, what would you do? What song would come out of your mouth? What prayer? What praises? What sacred offering? What whirling dance? What religion? And what reverential gesture would you make to greet that world every single day that you were in it? Statistics show that church-going is on the decline in the West. Maybe this is because people are finding a sense of community in places like Facebook instead. Or maybe it's a problem of content. Maybe people feel that the reality of the world that they are living in is not reflected in the church they attend each Sunday. Carl Sagan said in closing that, quote, a religion old or new that stressed the magnificence of the universe as revealed by modern science might be able to draw forth reserves of reverence and awe hardly tapped by conventional faiths. Sooner or later, such a religion will emerge. Amen.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my moon. Sun, my sail, moon, my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the ancient wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue.
to grab a hand next to you, place a hand on your heart or shoulder, and breathe deep the breath of life. The only thing you need to remember that you are made out of stars, that you are shining as bright as the heavens, is to take a breath and look up at the night sky. And out of that breath of gratitude comes one word: kindred. Amen. After the postlude, Pete will be downstairs at his CD table. I will whisk him away quickly, and you can greet him down there.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. And when I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.